Hello, everybody, and welcome to the True Love Talk channel. Here we want to learn about human sexuality and love based on the teachings that Pope John Paul II left in the theology of the body. I am Elisa, and today we're going to have our fourth video of the series Muliers Dignitatem on the dignity of women. And today's topic is the holy name of God. So, if you like this kind of content and you want to learn about the church's teachings on sexuality, family, and life, please subscribe to this channel and click the bell to get notifications every time we have a new video. So, that being said, let's begin. So, today we're talking about God's name, which is Yahweh, and which means the one who is. He is the one who is, and we are because he is, right? And the reason why we're talking about his name is because if we understand his name, we understand that he becomes the ontological principle. Now, what is an ontological principle? Remember that ontology or metaphysics is the science of the being. And basically, what this science wants to do is to establish this one principle that makes everything be. So, for example, in modernity, because modernity is very atheist and very materialistic, the ontological principle is the atom. We believe that everything that exists is material, and so it's made of atoms, right? That would be an ontological principle. But for those of us who believe in God, we know that God becomes the ontological principle because everything exists because he created it and he maintains its being. So this idea has a close relationship with some other concepts that we saw in the series of the theology of the body, but that it's very good to remember today, right? So first of all, the idea of nature or the concept of nature. What is nature? Of course, nature, we can think of it as, going outside and seeing a nice landscape. But in another sense, nature is what makes the thing what it is and not something else. Okay? That things, the essence of things that make it that thing and not anything different, that is nature. And very related to nature is the idea of good, right? What is good is whatever allows the thing to maintain its nature. In this case, and again, thinking of good as the one who is and who makes everything be, we know that God is the good, right? And he's what allows us to continue being. That is why when Jesus says, I am the life, that is very literal. He is our life. Without him, we stop being, we die, right? He is the good. And very related to the good and to nature is the truth, because truth, let's remember, is understanding how things are, right? Understanding reality. And for that, we need to understand what is good for the thing, right? And truth is what's going to be what is going to allow us to be free, right? Freedom depends on truth, because only when I know how things are and what is good, I can choose, and I can choose well in something that is actually useful and good for me, right? So we're thinking about this and we're clarifying these concepts because today we're going to take the topic of original justice. Because remember that we are trying to understand the difference between that original man that lived in the logic of original innocence and compare it to the historic man, which is the fallen man, right? That continues in the logic of original sin, right? So let's begin with the idea of justice. What is justice? For the historic man, justice is to give each person what they deserve or what we owe to them. And for justice, we need laws, because laws regulate the relationships between people. So two people get married, and so we need laws to know what do they owe to each other and what does it mean to get married. Two people want to I don't know, enter a commercial relationship and one wants to sell to the other. So you need commercial law and so on. But every time we think of laws, we think of this man made product. Because for historic man who follows the logic of sin, remember that ethics, which is the science of living well, right? Of choosing what's good and doing what is good, okay, becomes tradition. That is actually what the Greek word means, tradition. Why? Because it depends on what we want, what we decide, because we are the measure of all things. So, of course, laws depend on us. So, when we have absolutist uh, political systems such as monarchies or dictatorships or so on, we know that there is one person deciding all of the laws. But when we have democracies, we know that who is going to define the laws? Again, people. But here is all the people, right? Everyone in this country is going to vote for the laws to happen or to be abolished or so on. But when we go back to the logic of original sin, innocence, that means that moment in which both men and women had equal dignity because they both understood that they had equal dignity. And so no one was trying to subdue the other or be superior or be better or own the other or be served by the other. In that logic, justice depends of God. And this is what Pope John Paul II would call the original justice. And he would say that original justice is actually the union between man and God, right? Why? Because we allow God to be God. That is, for Him to decide what is good, for Him to decide what is nature, for Him to decide how things are. He is, right? We allow Him to be the principle of the being. And that is why our ethic was ontological instead of being traditional. And this kind of justice depends on humility because only when I am humble and I allow God to be God do I accept his laws. And here, what kind of laws do we have to follow? Well, basically the laws of nature, right? So we God told us to rule the universe, right? To rule nature on that first covenant. So we would actually take the time to understand how things worked, right? And what was its nature, so we could give it the best life possible or the best existence possible and actually fulfill God's plan. So if we notice, original justice means that the human being is open to the other, right? And continues or maintains the tendency of being for the other, of being a gift for the other person or for the other being. In this case, it could be God or it could be the universe or it could be our fellow human beings. Whomever we were open to be there for the other person, to be the gift. And that tendency of being open to the other person protects the original unity. And original unity is going to have different levels. First of all, in a personal level, it means that the three components of the human being, which we know are the body, the soul, and the spirit, are all together. They're integrated, right? So they are all there for each other. They're not trying to have the other serve them, which is what creates that brokenness inside us that sin provokes, right? Because the body wants the spirit and the soul to serve it. So it has its own desires and it doesn't align its desires with what's good for the spirit and the soul. The spirit does the same thing. The soul and the body should serve me, not I them. And so the human being is broken within itself, right? Our elements are pulling each one to their own side, right? And that is what creates concupiscence. But before the fall, because each of the elements of the human being was there for the other. Then we had integrity, which means our components are integrated with one another. The second level of original unity is the unity between people, right? Especially between men and women. Men and women were there for each other as gifts for the other person, and so nobody wanted uh, to possess somebody else, to own, to be superior, to be better, or to be more respected than. We understood that our value depended on how useful we were for the other person and how well how good could we make the other person's life, instead of trying to have the other person serve me and the other person give me what's good for me, right? First of all. And the third level of original unity is the unity between human beings and the rest of creation, right? Basically, that is when we understood that ruling means serving, right? And we served creation to give creation its best existence possible, trying to fulfill God's plan. So this topic has already become very long. So on the next video, we're going to talk about original sin and what does that mean for all the relationships that we just talked about. So I'm very glad to see that you decided to stay until the end of the video. If you have any question or any comment, please write it down on the comment section below. I'll try to answer it as soon as possible. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you find this video useful for anybody, please share it with that person. And please remember to subscribe to this channel. So I'm very glad to see you here. Have a nice day. Lots of blessing for everybody. Bye.